This subject came up this week, and I'll just go over it many, many times. Soul enters human body, right? And so magnetic game begins. So I have certain magnetic propensities, certain kind of samskars of previous life, karmic patterns, and that magnetically is going to pull me into a certain womb, in a certain family, in a certain environment, in a certain time. Okay, then I have to navigate the time and space. And I have to keep in mind a call murat, that I don't come from here, I come from somewhere else. So I can control time, time doesn't control me. Call is the time factor, and I want to be able to, a call allows me to transcend time, not be controlled by time. I enter the body, and I enter the womb of the mother, and I start magnetically imprinting thought patterns. Good? Okay, some of these thought patterns are useful, some are not. And in this culture, a lot of them are not useful. A lot of them are destructive. Then I go along and magnetically I pull in an environment or an event that's traumatic, and in some way it magnetically starts to control the direction of my awareness. Good? It's not good, but just you with me, right? Okay, and this is what I was discussing this weekend. So I have, like damage, wounds, trauma, what do you call it, arrests, some problem. Good? What's one way to relieve the pressure of that problem on my psyche that actually works? Talk about it. That's true. Talking about it, I had this terrible event happen to me, and talking about it does relieve the pressure of that event. Does it remove the event? No. Does it change the event? No. So it's a very temporary release, and it's not that fulfilling release. And then we move to, I have 3 major gears of the mind, right? Negative, positive, neutral. And like a gear of the car, you have to accelerate to get the car into a certain gear. You have to have enough energy to move. The default is negative. Whatever you encounter, the negative mind goes operation first. It takes energy to move to the positive. It takes more energy to move to the neutral. Negative gives me negative point of view. Positive is supposed to give me positive point of view. Neutral is supposed to tell me what to do with the 2 points of view. Good? Okay. Typically what happens is the negative mind encounters the situation and hands off to the positive mind what? A negative command. Instead of giving me the positive side of it, give me more data that's similar to my current position. You follow this? The positive becomes the positive becomes a servant of the negative. Do a Google search for more. So when I'm talking about my traumatic event, I'm using what mind has to encounter that first? Negative. And the negative's job is to do what? Protect. So the negative mind will amplify. And this is kind of seemingly the key point everyone is missing. It amplifies. Where I point my mind, the first mind in use is negative, and it amplifies. If I discuss my problem, negative mind is going to amplify the problem. And if I don't have mantra energy, mantra being the intelligent direction of the mind, I'm not going to use the positive mind appropriately. All the positive mind is going to do is get me more negative, essentially support the negative impression, right? It's making a positive function of supporting the negative impression. It's not making an independent analysis. And the whole kind of culture is in a fog that if I discuss my problem, somehow that will, true statement, relieve pressure, and then that's where the analysis starts to fall away. And then what they're not aware of is that I've now amplified the problem, which means it's what? Bigger. And it's like a bioorganic energy field. It's going to grow. And as it grows, the problem becomes what? Bigger. And the bigger problem, then I need to talk about it more in order to relieve the pressure. And the positive mind now, under the onslaught of that negative, amplified, problematic thought form, it may be working harder to do a positive role of supporting the negative impressions. Because not only do I have this problem, other people in the group therapy have the same problem. Good? So what I have to understand is that going into the negative problematic space and analyzing it is a very risky maneuver. And most people do not have the energy to pull it off. So the mind is going to go where you point it. Mantra, again, is an intelligent way of directing the mind. This is Yogi Bhajan teaching. You don't get rid of, you don't analyze problems, you don't go through problems, you don't do kind of, what do you call it, deactivate, you just drop it. You have to go somewhere else. Kundalini is a transportation system to move you to another point of view, where the problem starts to drop out of your awareness. But the analytical kind of fog that everyone's in, you hear things, if I relive the traumatic experience over and over, somehow that will take the energy out of it. It's true, I suppose, if you want to spend years reliving the traumatic experience over and over again, maybe some point it gets a little less. But the human mind is very creative, and you can run the same scenario a few million times and it hasn't lost any charge. Okay, sa, ha, na, ma is doing what? Directing the mind to control my elemental landscape, harmonize my landscape, and move me to a better dimensional field of awareness. Therefore, problematic patterns simply fade off screen because they're not part of the new harmonized dimensional perspective or perception. But you feel I haven't quote unquote dealt with my issue. That's completely negative programming. That's false. You don't have to deal with it. You have to move past it. Because you have to move through time. And space is giving you to move through time. So if you can give space to the problem, you've won. But if you think you need to revisit the thing, you're essentially locked in the same time frame. Right? So I had a traumatic event that happened 10 years ago, but I'm pulling that into the present moment because I don't know how to control time and I don't know how to give it space. So I'm locked in a kind of a time distortion field, which makes me easily to be manipulated by the environment outside. And if I'm constantly analyzing that traumatic event of 10 years ago, I'm creating a magnetic field that's doing what? Broadcasting that event out to the cosmos, essentially saying, bring me more of the same. Right? Because that's what my focus is on. So I have to figure out a way to transcend the problematic location, move past it. And the mantra is that directional signal that tells my mind, focus on something else. As I focus on something else, then that negative is, I want to become a successful, what do you call it, graffiti artist. So what do I need to do? Or let's go to Warren Buffett, that's because I just read that. Warren Buffett, you know this guy, the Oracle of Omaha, whatever it is. 50 years he's been in the stock picking business, and he's done okay. He's got 70-something billion or something like this. And his partner, who rarely writes in this kind of annual letter, he said the trait that made Warren Buffett who he is he had 2 or 3 areas of focus, and he systematically applied all his energies to those areas of focus for the last 50 years. He essentially early on learned a pattern, and he just applied the same formula over and over and over again. But he kept raising the bet. So he started out buying this size, then this size, and this size, and this size, so that there's the human fulfillment of expansion. So there's no loss of there's no boredom of repetition, because he just kept going back to the tables and making a bigger bet each time. And very, very aware of his, the negative side of the situation, positive side of it, coming to a neutral side and making a decision. Now, how much time has he spent in therapy discussing some traumatic event that he had as a small child? He's too busy. Right? That's the video. Everyone's agreeing with me. Right? Because he doesn't have time to focus on those issues. He's trying to do something that's more beneficial for himself and whoever else is involved. In that letter, Buffett is describing business projections. Because when you buy a company, they have to, 2 years from now, we should be here. He said, you got to look at the real live numbers, right? Real reality, not kind of fantasy that's a kind of a foggy thought form. He said, typical business maneuver is to throw the dart at the wall and then paint the bullseye around the dart. That's a pretty good description. So our projections came out to what we wanted them to be. And I was dealing, not a few months back, with some business where they've gotten themselves completely bent out of shape because they're kind of corporate masters. They had fed the corporate masters some business projections. And so they were getting all bent out of shape trying to meet those projections. If I offered everyone to, because did you get the flyer? I was going to give everyone a free bicycle that came to class. No one's expecting a bicycle, but since I made the projection, now I'm really scrambling because I don't have any bicycles. So this is why people get all kind of crazy, right? So now I'm going to discuss it tomorrow at my group. I have a bicycle what we call it, therapy support group of people who wanted bicycles and didn't get them. And we discuss it, what went wrong and so on. Which is why I have to bring it up, because you wonder why is he bringing up bicycles? Because I go to a support group about bicycles and it's on my mind. Because I'm not directing my mind in a useful direction. So again, the mantra is going to send an intelligent signal into the body-mind computer so I don't have to do all these calculations myself. All I got to do is follow something that's useful. And I hope everyone in this room has a lot of Sa, Ta, Na, Ma recitations. You should all take your phone out and press record and go on Sa, Ta, Na, Ma, Sa, Ta, Na, Ma a few times in there, and you're listening to that when you sleep or during the day and so forth, because your voice has 100 times more power to direct your system than any other sound on the planet. And if you take that mantra, you have downloaded many recitations into your psyche, and you have a constant loop of that sound current going into the body-mind system, the body-mind is going to basically be programmed to do something that's useful and better and harmonizes you with you and you in the environment. And it's going to take you how long to do that? You press one button and you just let the phone play forever, right? And you spend a minute or so recording it. And then you don't have to worry about going back and analyzing problematic situations, because the mantra has a momentum that will point you in a productive direction. Good? Okay, so this is the basic notion. But I don't want you to understand it because I need you to come back tomorrow night. But if you can't, if you basically understand this thing and start focusing on something that's useful, the whole room could transcend to a whole nother level of energy and discover like a whole nother internet that exists. It's full of fascinating things and new human feelings, new human talents, new human abilities, and not keep looping back into old things that didn't work. So we're trying to create a collective energy field where the people are coming up with better ideas because they're living more fulfilling lives, because they're making more refined distinctions about what they should be doing with their attention and their energy. And then everyone's quality of life improves. So that's why we're doing this. Good?